If this state capture was what you meant by a Milokan.
Hello, great people. As the midterm of the administration of President Bola Tinubu draws near, Nigerians have been assessing the performance of the government. And one of such Nigerians is popular Pastor Tunde Bakare. Tunde Bakare gave a statement in his church for the celebration of the Easter service, and he has some strong words for the Bola Tinubu administration. He literally shredded the administration of Bola Tinubu to pieces. He touched on the personality of Nyesom Wike, how Bola Tinubu has been indulging him. He spoke about the performance of the National Assembly. Then he gave an overwhelming assessment of the administration of Bola Tinubu. For some of you that don't know Tunde Bakare was the running mate to the immediate past president Muhammadu Buhari in 2011. Let us go and watch the video of Pastor Tunde Bakare where he made some strong assertions. Then when we come back, we'll be dissecting some of the issues that he raised in that particular video. Is he right or wrong? What is the reality of his statement? Is Bola Tinubu guilty as charged? Let us go and watch the video, then we'll come back for some great discussion. Let's watch it.
At the center of this political banditry is the Motorpark brand of politics, nurtured by the old brigade politicians, and in recent times by President Bola Tinubu. Mr. President, it is through your influence that the Nigerian National Assembly has become a haven for legislative rascality. Mr. President, it's under your watch that the National Assembly has become an extension of the executive, grossly violating the principles of separation of powers and rubber stamping the whims and caprices of your office, all while singing the international anthem of psychoviolence on your mandate, we shall stand. Mr. President, thanks to your political machinations, Nigeria is now bedeviled by a captured National Assembly, the most ineffective in its checks and balances role since the start of the Fourth Republic. In 2006, the Fourth National Assembly had the audacity to reject the tenure extension bid of a sitting president. In 2010, the Sixth National Assembly summoned the courage to stand against the power hijacking cabal and restore Nigeria to the path of constitutionality by invoking the doctrine of necessity. In 2011, the House of Representatives of the Seventh National Assembly had the courage to elect its leaders, as did the Senate of the Eighth National Assembly in 2015, defying executive interference. This National Assembly, the 10th, has by its unconstitutional endorsement of the President's abuse of powers proven to be the most spineless in our recent history. Through its actions and inactions, the National Assembly has in effect become the 48th member of the President's cabinet. While a cabinet minister by the name of Wike, is it Wike or Wike or Wakeep? Why a cabinet minister has more or less become a third-time state governor in Rivers State, pampered by the indulgences of the president. Recent events have made it clear to Nigerians that had this assembly been in place in 2006, when the third-term agenda was proposed, our democracy would have since morphed into one of Africa's lamentable tales of sit-tight dictatorship. To the president of the Nigerian Senate, who has not heeded the call to subject himself to an unbiased investigation, to clear his name of the allegations leveled against him, and under whose leadership the National Assembly has become a carry-go legislature, hiding under the umbrella of technicalities and a dubious voice voting system. I leave you and your conscience with the words of Frederic Bessiert, former deputy of the French National Assembly. He said, and I quote, "When plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it." to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under whose brand of politics the institution of legislative oversight is collapsing and our democracy is faced with an existential threat. I say, Mr. President, Nigeria is too delicate for this kind of politics. If this state capture was what you meant by a Milokan, it is an anticlimax that can only be counterproductive at the end. I urge you, Mr. President, to think deeply and reflect on these words. No man is wise enough, nor good enough to be trusted with unlimited power. Mr. President, please stop playing God.
There you have it. You just watched the video of popular pastor Tunde Bakare, who happens to be the running mate to immediate past president Muhammadu Buhari in the 2011 presidential election. Let us look at some of the things that Tunde Bakare said in that particular video. First, I must say that Tunde Bakare gave it to Bola Tinubu out in that particular video. Tunde Bakare was quite blunt. He spoke his mind, not minding ox is God. Now let us look at some of the things that he said in that video. He said the National Assembly is now the haven of legislative rascality. Is that the case? The National Assembly under Godswill Akpabio as the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, are they an epitome of legislative rascality as asserted by Tunde Bakare? Well, if the case of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and Senate President Godswill Akpabio is anything to go by, if the way that case was handled is anything to go by, then we can say that Tunde Bakare is right. The way and manner the National Assembly has been kind of like passing bills that comes from the president, the way they've been approving loans, the way they've been kind of like approving budget, and all the things that comes from Bola Tinubu without thorough scrutiny, then we cannot help but agree with Tunde Bakare that Tunde Bakare is right. And the conduct of Godswill Akpabio, whereby even some senators have accused that he is like a god unto himself, that is running the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as if it is his private estate, then we have no choice than to agree with Tunde Bakare. And he made a statement that the Senate, the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, is not like an extension of the executive. Well, you cannot help but agree with Tunde Bakare because the way Akpabio has been conducting himself, and the reason is that Akpabio wants to be the Senate president till 2031, and that is why he is trying to be kind of like a loyal boy to Bola Tinubu so that he can get his support in 2031. But then Akpabio forgets that Tinubu has other loyal boys in the person of Adams Oshiomhole, who is racing to also be the Senate president in 2027. May God spare our life. 2027 is sure going to be an interesting year. Now, another thing that Tunde Bakare raised in that particular video is that he said the Akpabio-led assembly is indeed the worst. Well, if you look at it, well, is he right? Well, I can say that from my lens as a political scientist, the Akpabio-led Senate, well, if it's not the worst, it will rank as one of the worst in the history of the leadership of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One of the tenure that I enjoyed most in terms of Senate leadership is that of the past Senate President, Abubakar Bukola Saraki. Maybe because he wasn't in the Buhari camp, but then you see some rigorous debate. Even if the Buhari boys would eventually have their way at that point in time, Saraki would kind of like, lead the Senate through a rigorous debate. Not this one that Akpabio will be shutting everybody down. So for me, I agree with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Not that it is the worst, but at least one of the worst in the history of Nigeria. And he said that the Senate is not like the 48th member of the president cabinet. Well, the way Akpabio has conducted himself, Pastor Tunde Bakare seems correct. Pastor Tunde Bakare seems correct if the way Akpabio has conducted himself is anything to go by. And Pastor Tunde Bakare also asserts that if it was under Akpabio that Obasanjo attempted a third term, it would have sailed through. Well, do you need anybody to tell you that Pastor Tunde Bakare is saying the truth? Because if you look at the way a man Akpabio has conducted himself, the way they hurriedly changed the national anthem, the way they have been operating, it's just as if, they are giving birth to by Bola Tinubu himself. And I have asserted before that the Senate President Godswill Akpabio need to take a lesson on how to be efficient, even if you want to be a puppet, how to kind of like be efficient even during your era of puppetry. So Godswill Akpabio need some lecture on how to coordinate himself. So Pastor Tunde Bakare is largely right on his assertion on the National Assembly and the relationship of Bola Tinubu with the National Assembly. We are not saying that the executive and the legislature should be cat and dogs or cat and mouse, but then again, there must be a line in such a way that they shouldn't be in bed to the detriment of Nigerians. And another thing that Pastor Tunde Bakare pointed out to is that he said the international anthem of Psychophant, which is the song On Your Mandate We Shall Stand, where I wholeheartedly agree with Pastor Tunde Bakare, because it is total madness if you are in the floor of the National Assembly to present a budget and you guys are singing On Your Mandate We Shall Stand. Is it a political time? Well, I agree with Tunde Bakare in that regard, and there's no other better caption for that On Your Mandate song than the international anthem of Psychophant. Kudos to the speechwriter of Pastor Tunde Bakare. They did a really good job. And he also asserted that Nigeria is too delicate for Tinubu's kind of politics and state capture. Well, I agree with Pastor Tunde Bakare, because people have tried it in the past and they met their Waterloo. So I hope that Bola Tinubu will be very careful and learn from the mistake of past Nigerian leaders, because the dynamics of Nigerian politics is different, and state capture will not work in Nigeria, although Bola Tinubu will try it, because naturally, looking at him with profound respect to him, it seems to be in his DNA to always want to kind of like laud himself when he has an opportunity. And you can see that since 1999, that was given an opportunity to govern over Lagos State. He hasn't released Lagos State till now. He still holds firm grip of Lagos State. So definitely Bola Tinubu will try to kind of like lord over Nigeria for as long as possible, but then Nigeria is really a delicate country, and if he's not careful, it will definitely miss his Waterloo. And Pastor Tunde Bakare said he should stop playing God. Well, I can't but agree with Pastor Tunde Bakare on that, because the conduct of Bola Tinubu, is somebody that when he's in charge, he likes to be 101 in charge. So as Bola Tinubu been playing God, well, to some extent, and if Bola Tinubu is not checkmated, definitely will turn himself into a god with the small letter G eventually. But what I can say is that Pastor Tunde Bakare largely has a point, and I like the part where he spoke about Nyesom Wike. If you watch the full video, he spoke about Nyesom Wike, and he took a jab at Nyesom Wike, saying, "Oh, is it YK or something like that?" Who he said he has made himself the third-time governor of Rivers State, and based on the indulgence of President Bola Tinubu. But what I can say is kudos to Pastor Tunde Bakare, and I can't go without asking that where is the likes of Pastor Iye Adeboye that have made political moves, that have made political statements in the past? Where are they now when Nigeria is facing the hardship that they've never experienced before in their life? What stopped Pastor Adeboye from speaking up at this point in time? Kudos to Pastor Tunde Bakare for summoning up the courage to speak the truth to power, not minding ox is God. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politin. Subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past video. See you in my next video. I love you all sincerely.